Hello, Wealth Tycoons. Welcome back to our channel. And today we are going to definitely crush it in this video. Strike something? Did you hear Gary Vee? Many people wonder how a young immigrant kid could turn a small family liquor shop into a huge multi-million-dollar business empire and become famous on social media in the process. That's the exciting story of Gary Vaynerchuk, who many people call Gary Vee. Gary was born in Belarus and grew up in the United States. His story is full of hard work, determination, and a never-ending desire to succeed. He had an entrepreneurial attitude from a very young age and made money with lemonade stands and baseball card sales. But he got his big break when he took the small liquor shop that belonged to his family online and made it famous all over the country. Gary Vee is now one of the most important people in digital marketing. His straightforward advice and love of business inspire millions of people. Once in a while, you would have come across an inspiring quote or inspiring video with Gary Vee. But in this video, we are going to touch upon the story of this living legend. So let's get started. Gary Vaynerchuk's story begins in the small town of Babruysk, Belarus, on November 14, 1975. At that time, Belarus was part of the Soviet Union. It was not easy to live in the USSR, especially for Jewish families like the Vaynerchuks. They were constantly discriminated against and didn't have many options. It was hard to live because the government had a lot of power, and there was not much room for success or freedom. The Vaynerchuk family knew they had to leave for a better life for their children. In 1978, they left everything behind to start over in the United States. Gary's family moved to Queens, New York when he was only 3 years old. Their new home was in America. They didn't have much with them, no money, no job chances, and they didn't even speak English. It was hard to make the change. They shared a tiny one-bedroom apartment with other cousins, which was very crowded. In that small area, there were 8 people living together. They were all driven by the same dream, to make life better in America. These were the land of chance for the Vaynerchuks. They thought that hard work would pay off here. Gary's father, Sasha Vaynerchuk, worked any job he could get to support his family. He finally got a job packing ice and putting things on shelves at a relative's liquor shop. It wasn't fancy, but it was a start. Sasha took over the small business after saving money and learning how to run it. The family then moved to Edison, New Jersey. Everyone in the family helped run the liquor shop, which was called Shoppers Discount Liquors. Gary learned from his childhood in Edison how to make something from nothing. His parents worked hard to make ends meet, and Gary quickly learned how to work hard like them. The family didn't make excuses for anything. They operated with mentality. If you had to do something, you did it, no matter what. Gary was not just a kid who stocked the shelves at his dad's store, though. He was interested in business from a very young age. He was good at making money even when he was a kid. He always found ways to make extra money, like swapping baseball cards for lemonade. Gary learned the value of hard work, resilience, and the ability to see possibilities that others missed in those early years, which shaped his entrepreneurial spirit. There are always the small things in childhood that shape you as a person. Gary Vaynerchuk was different from other kids even when he was young. Like most people, he didn't just sit around and wait for good things to happen. Not at all. Gary was all about getting things done, and he did it with a level of hustle that most adults would admire. Setting up lemonade stands was one of Gary's first business ideas, and it was right out of a child's script. But Gary, being Gary, would be happier with more than just one stand. But he made his lemonade business into a small kingdom instead. He put up several stands around his neighborhood, putting them on the busy corners where he knew many people would be walking by. The clever part is that Gary only ran some of these stands by himself. He got his friends to work for him, which made them little lemonade bosses. Before he turned 10, Gary was already kind of like a mini CEO. He learned basic business skills like planning, management, and even profit sharing while turning a simple lemonade stand into a business with multiple locations. The lemonade stands were the first step, though. Gary was also very interested in baseball cards, which took his business sense to a whole new level. Gary didn't collect baseball cards for fun or to show off to his friends like most kids did. He saw them as money signs. He was not interested in collecting them. He wanted to sell them and make money. By the time he was a teen, Gary spent his weekends at flea markets, shops, and baseball card shows. He was very good at finding cards that were being sold for too little money and then selling them for more. Gary worked hard, made deals, and saved money while most kids were hanging out or playing video games. Gary would look all over the tables for secret gems, compare prices, and then flip those cards for big money. We are not talking about small changes either. Every weekend, Gary was making a lot of money. He would come home with a lot of cash in his pockets. He was making more money than many adults when he was only 14. Gary once got a great deal on a rare Joe Montana football card and sold it the next day for a nice $2,000 profit. Yes, $2,000 in one day. That's pretty good for a kid who was not even old enough to drive. It sounds like a teenager's dream, right? Gary was crazy about the game on a whole other level. He was always looking for ways to make money. Most of Gary's friends spent their funds on toys, electronics, and clothes, but Gary put his money back into his business to make it bigger. He didn't waste his money on new video games or trendy clothes. Instead, he saved and invested every dollar he earned. He was hungry for success all the time, which would become the basis of his future work. For Gary, working hard was not just about making money. It was also about the thrill of the game and the art of the deal. It was his favorite thing to buy low and sell high. He felt in charge and free after doing it. He knew a lot about supply and demand, market trends, and how to negotiate by the time he was a teenager. In Gary's mind, these early business experiences shaped him and set him on a road that would later lead to even bigger businesses. He learned more than just how to make money by selling baseball cards and lemonade. Hey, if you are enjoying this video so far, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, because we are every lemonade that comes our way to create amazing content for you. Moving back to the story, when Gary Vaynerchuk graduated from high school, he went right to work for his family at Shoppers Discount Liquors. Back then, it was just a small booze store that made about $3 million a year. Gary started at the bottom and did boring jobs like putting ice in bags, putting things on shelves, and helping people at the counter. But even as he did these normal things, he was always thinking of ways to improve the business. He was not just trying to keep things the same. He was also thinking about how to make this small family shop into something much bigger. After that, in the middle of the 1990s, the internet boom happened, which changed Gary's life for good. At this point, most people didn't even know what the internet was, let alone how to use it for business. But Gary, who had a big picture view, saw something that other people didn't. He saw that the internet had the potential to change how businesses worked, especially when it came to selling things. Everyone else didn't trust or understand this new technology, but Gary thought it would change the way business was done in the future. Gary had a big idea when he was only 22 years old. In 1997, he wanted to take the family booze business online. But back then, no one ever sold wine on the internet. People were just getting used to email at the time, let alone having faith in a website enough to use their credit card to buy alcohol. Gary didn't care, though. He was sure that this was an opportunity that would never come up again. It was hard for him to get his traditional, old-fashioned father to go along with this crazy new idea. Imagine trying to get someone from a different time to risk the whole family business on this idea that hasn't been tested yet. Hell of a job, right? However, Gary being Gary was able to start his new project after some convincing. This is how WineLibrary.com came to be. The goal was simple: to bring the customer-focused service from their shop to their website. There was, of course, more to it than that. Gary had to deal with a lot of problems, like getting people to trust an online store, working out how to ship fragile wine bottles, and going up against big companies in the market. But he wouldn't give up. Gary did more than just put up the website and hope it does well. He did everything he knew how to do to market it. He did everything he could to get people to visit the site, from early SEO plans to email newsletters. It was his secret weapon that he really knew what people wanted. In order to gain their trust, Gary learned how to speak their language. Soon after, the business took off in Wine Library because of successful online business. After all the struggles, Gary didn't stop after he made WineLibrary.com. He didn't hold back and learned as much as he could about internet marketing. This took place in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when internet marketing was rather new. However, Gary saw what it could be before most people did. He was not just putting his toes in the water. He dove right in. It really paid off. Using email marketing to grow the business was one of Gary's first moves that changed the game. Other companies used old-fashioned forms of advertising like flyers and newspaper ads. Gary, on the other hand, started sending their customers weekly email newsletters. These texts were not dull like most. They were full of personality. Customers loved it when Gary shared wine suggestions, tasting notes, and special deals that no one else could get. Each text from him felt like a conversation between two people. Also, guess what? People really liked it. People loved the newsletter so much that they went back to the website and went straight to the checkout page. Gary was always on the lookout for the next big thing. That's how he found out how powerful Google ads could be. Google was just starting to become well known at this point, and not many people were advertising on it. That there wasn't much competition meant that the prices were very low. Gary thought this was a great chance. To get new customers from all over the country, he started running focused ads. Gary got his website in front of thousands of people who were actively looking for goods like his by bidding on keywords that had to do with wine. There was no doubt that these digital methods had a huge effect. Gary grew the family business from making only $3 million a year to a huge $60 million a year in just 5 years. The best part is that Gary Vaynerchuk was just getting started, even though he had turned his family's booze store into a $60 million business. He was ready for his next big idea by 2006. That's when he thought of something completely different, Wine Library TV. YouTube was not very big yet, and most of the movies on it were funny cat videos and home videos. Gary saw more than that, though. He knew that YouTube would be the best way to share his love of wine with everyone. That's why he chose to jump. Gary put together a simple camera in his office, got some wine, and then he just began talking. Not a plot or a fancy show, just Gary being himself. That's how Wine Library TV came to be. The show was not edited in any way. It was completely real. Gary brought something new and fun to wine, breaking down the walls that made the world of wine seem scary. He wasn't just talking to high-class sommeliers or wine experts. Not at all. He made wine fun and easy to understand for everyone, from regular drinkers to people who had never tried it before. Gary stood out because of how big his personality was. When he reviewed wines, he was not afraid to be brave, loud, or honest. He would say if a wine was bad. He would go on and on about how great it was. Wine Library TV stood out from other standard and stuffy wine shows because of Gary's unique style. To keep people interested, he added humor, energy, and even some strange tools. People really liked his sincere enthusiasm and honest way of talking to them. Not long after it started, the show got a lot of loyal fans who watched every episode. But Wine Library TV had an effect that went beyond just making people laugh. That hurt his business right away. Wine Library's sales went through the roof after the show. People started buying the wines Gary reviewed because they believed what he said. Gary turned viewers into loyal customers by sharing his knowledge and energy in a way that was fun and easy to understand. Gary once mixed wine with Cap'n Crunch cereal on an episode of Wine Library TV. You heard that right. It was not scary for him to try new things and push the limits. Part of what made the show so great was that he was willing to try new things and think outside the box. Gary Vaynerchuk had a lot of success in the wine business, but he realized that his real skill was not selling wine. It was internet marketing. Gary saw a whole new way for businesses to reach their customers with the rise of social media. He was sure he had the skills to help brands stand out in this new environment. So Gary and his brother AJ started VaynerMedia in 2009 as a digital marketing company to help big brands take over social media and connect with people in ways that old-fashioned advertising just couldn't. However, VaynerMedia was not like any other marketing firm. Gary had a clear idea of what he wanted the business to be. Companies had been using the same old methods for decades, like TV ads, radio spots, and signs. Gary wanted to make something that was all about the power of storytelling. He thought that the best way to build brands wasn't with one-way ads, but with interesting stories that people could connect to, share, and become a part of. The way Gary did things was simple. Pay attention to where people are. That was social media in the late 2000s. As social networks like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram became more and more popular, companies began to understand they needed to change how they talked to their customers. Old-fashioned advertising wasn't working any longer. Customers were looking for brands that could talk to them in a way that felt familiar, real, and important as they spent more and more time online. So Gary and AJ set out to show big businesses how to use social media to their advantage. VaynerMedia's main goal from the beginning was to make material that naturally connected with people and didn't feel like an attempt to sell something. Few clients like PepsiCo, GE, and Johnson & Johnson were slow to see how useful Gary's method was. They were among the first to hire the agency. Because of this, VaynerMedia grew very quickly and became one of the biggest and best digital marketing firms in the world very quickly. VaynerMedia is now a global giant with many offices and hundreds of workers all over the world. But Gary's method has not changed at its core, even though it's been a huge success. His fixation on attention has become the company's main idea. As Gary says a lot, wherever attention goes, money follows. This way of thinking has helped VaynerMedia stay ahead of the curve in the digital world, which is always changing. If you are enjoying watching this video, you should definitely check out the other business success stories available on our channel. You will definitely learn the right and wrong business moves from other business stories. Gary Vaynerchuk started working on his personal brand around the same time he was building VaynerMedia. This would become his most important achievement. Gary quickly saw that the internet was changing not only how people talk to each other, but also how companies talk to their users. As social media grew, people stopped passively taking in information. Instead, they interacted with it, shared it, and looked for material that spoke to them. Because of this change, Gary saw a chance to make money for himself and his business. Gary did what he always does, which is to jump in every place he could. Gary made sure that his voice was heard on all of the major social media sites, from YouTube and Twitter to Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. He knew that to be successful on social media, you couldn't just post ads or promote yourself. You had to make content that people wanted to see, that made them feel something, and that kept them coming back for more. Gary began posting short, energetic videos that were typical of his style. Straightforward advice, inspiring rants, and honest talks about how hard you have to work to get ahead. His method was fresh. It was honest, raw, and not at all filtered. Gary's style was real, while other influencers used scripts that were too well written or material that was too well produced. He wasn't afraid to expose the harsh realities of running a business. He gave tough love and useful business tips with his characteristic passion. In his rants about patience or when he told his fans to shut up and work, everyone could feel his sincerity and energy. Gary's personal brand went through the roof. Aside from being a motivational speaker, he was also a go-to speaker for top workshops and a best-selling author with books like Crushing It and Jab, 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 Right Hook. He also became famous on social media, and millions of people follow him on all of them. People liked how direct he was, how he preached hustle, positivity, and patience, and how he got to know them personally. Gary's honesty about his problems, his dedication to his job, and his sincere belief that anyone could succeed with enough work struck a chord with people from all walks of life. Work hard if you want to reach your goals. There is no one coming to help you. You are in charge of your own life. Gary V. Crushing It is one of Gary Vaynerchuk's best-known books, became a manifesto for anyone who wants to make their own brand. Gary wrote this book to preach how important it is to use social media to turn your interests into a business. It was clear what he was saying. The internet leveled the playing field for everyone, and anyone could use it to make something big. He told his readers to use sites like YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram to share their stories, get more followers, and make money from the things they love. Gary did more than just crushing it. He wrote a number of other best-selling books with the same main idea: how to use social media to make a business successful. A lot of books, including The Thank You Economy, Jab, 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 Right Hook, and Ask Gary V, have been written to help companies and entrepreneurs smartly use social media to connect with their audience and build their brands. One of Gary's business ideas was easy but powerful. Give value first, ask later. He thought that people didn't want to be sold to anymore. They wanted to be helped, amused, and motivated. People would follow you and pay you money if you could give them real value, like educational material, motivational posts, or just fun things to read. In the past, companies would try to push their message to people through interruptive advertising. This was a big change from that. Gary taught people to build relationships, regularly give value, and let the money come in on its own. Gary was a valued advisor to many entrepreneurs because he was realistic and knew a lot about the online world. He made it clear in his books and talks that there was no easy way to be successful. You had to work hard. He said it would be worth it in the end, though. People know Gary Vee for his exciting keynotes in which he doesn't hold back. He doesn't give you filler or sugarcoat the truth when he talks. Gary says it like it is, whether you agree with him or not. He's like a tough business coach who won't let you relax. He forces his listeners to do things and stay inspired. People love how straightforward he is and how much raw energy he brings to the stage. His speeches are like a shot of motivation and tough love all at the same time. Gary Vaynerchuk has always been ahead of the curve, and he has shown this many times. Gary has always seen opportunities before other people do, from his early days in digital marketing to his investments in cutting-edge tech companies. One of the most important things he did was to put money into Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat early on when they were still very new. Gary knew that social media sites had a lot of power and could change the way people do business and talk to each other in the future. Thanks to those early investments that paid off big time, Gary is now not only a great businessman, but also a smart investor who can see trends coming. Gary didn't stop there, though. He always looks for new chances. So in 2017, he got into the sports business by starting VaynerSports, a unique sports agency. VaynerSports was not like other sports companies in that it wasn't just about getting athletes contracts or endorsement deals. Gary had a much bigger goal. He wanted to help players build their brands and get ready for long-term success. He knew that today's athletes are more than just players. They are also leaders who can connect with people and shape their legacies. VaynerSports uses social media and other digital tools to help players turn their athletic accomplishments into strong personal brands that last after they leave the sport. As if that was not enough, Gary showed he could also adapt to the future by getting involved with NFTs in 2021. Gary made his own NFT project called VFriends, which was made up of one-of-a-kind digital art. But these weren't any NFTs. Each one had benefits in the real world. People who bought VFriends NFTs got special perks, like being able to attend special events and have mentoring sessions with Gary. They could even have dinner with him. Gary did this to show that NFTs could be used for more than just digital art. They could also be used to build lasting connections and give people real value. Well, Gary's success is not just due to being lucky or smart, though those things do help. The real secret is in how hard he works, how persistently he hustles, and how curious he is all the time. Gary has always been the first person to jump on new chances, even when other people didn't think they were good. That is, he is not afraid to take risks or work long hours to make those risks pay off. Because of this way of thinking, he went from running a small booze store to becoming a global digital marketing mogul. Gary is different from many others because of how hard he works and how much he loves what he does. He talks a lot about how you have to be ready to work hard even when you don't see results right away. When he does something, he does it with patience and commitment. Gary doesn't want to win right away. He's in it for the long haul. He has been able to build great businesses like VaynerMedia, VFriends, and VaynerSports with this way of thinking. His content also inspires millions of people. Gary also talks about how important it is to always be interested and learn new things. He stays at the top of his game by always trying new things, whether it's looking into new platforms, studying how people behave, or playing around with new tools. When he's done something well, he always thinks about what to do next and how to make new ideas come to life. The story of Gary Vaynerchuk is a strong lesson of how important it is to have hustle, vision, and persistence. Gary went from being a young immigrant kid with just a dream to a global digital marketing mogul. His story shows that if you're willing to put in the work, you can achieve anything. It took him a while to get successful, and it won't do that for you either. Amazing things can be done if you're willing to take a chance, work hard, and keep an open mind. Now, the only question is, are you ready to crush it? Tell us in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed watching the video, you can appreciate our efforts by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to check out some gem of the business stories we have covered for you. See you soon in another video.